2, 1. We are back on the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff on 1150 WIMA. Our broadcast game this week, Columbus Grove at Lima Central Catholic. Todd Walker here, Mike Miller and Jason Aldrich alongside as we look at this week's matchups and make our picks. Before we make our picks, a quick review of last week's picks. Our broadcast game was Spencerville, Allen East. We all had the Bearcats, and we all were right on the money. Also, Columbus Grove, Ada was one of our pick games. Miller and Walker took Grove. Aldis went with the coin. It let him down. He selected Ada. Also, Wapakoneta, Elida, we all had Wapak. Pow. Salina OG, I went against the grain and took Salina. That cost me, as Mike and Jason had OG. And Lima Senior Piqua, Jason and I had the Spartans. Miller had the temerity to pick the Indians, so he went down to defeat. So, when you look at it, we were all 3-2. So, with 3 weeks in, Miller and Walker now 11-4, Aldrich 10-5. So, it's a one-game spread. Now, let's get to this week's picks and our thoughts on the games. Let's begin with our broadcast game tonight. Columbus Grove hosting Lima Central Catholic. And this really became a rivalry when Jerry Cooper left Columbus Grove and went to LCC some 10, 11 years ago. And then they were conference mates in the Northwest Conference. And I don't think that's really gone away just because Jerry Cooper's gone away. I don't think there's the real enmity toward Scott Palty that there was the way Cooper left. I think the folks at Grove are still fond of Scott, very much so. But it's still a rivalry game, even though they're not in the Northwest Conference together anymore. And an important game. Columbus Grove has been kind of mediocre the last several years, while the T-Birds have been the upper echelon in the area. Grove's 3-0 now, and you got to figure the T-Birds are still going to win some games down the road. Grove playoff hopes could be really boosted by a win tonight, Michael.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm glad this game continues in the post Lima Central Catholic in their Northwest Conference era because it's essentially Allen County. Columbus Grove is one of those schools. It's like 80% Putnam County. It's 20%
but there is some Allen
County. So for Columbus Grove and Lima Central to remain football rivals is an absolute beautiful thing. I hope they continue to play for a long, long time, the coaching connections. The game, to me, is almost too close to call. I think maybe the T-Birds have a little more firepower offensively and some potential there. But I think home games for Columbus Grove are a big factor for them emotionally. The town really gets wrapped up into the spectacle of a Friday night game. And I'm saying the Bulldogs are back, and they're going to win a close game tonight against Lima Central Catholic.
Miller taking Grove over Lima Central Catholic. Jason, what do you say?
I'm going to pretty much agree with Mr. Miller's sentiments there on all that he said there about the style of game that I think this is going to end up playing out to be. And because they're playing at home, I'll take Columbus Grove as well.
I'm going to be the outlier here. I do think this is a great matchup, but I think the T-Birds have some big playability that's going to win them this game. I think it's going to be a great game, and I'm going to take the T-Birds to pull out the victory with former Columbus Grove standout and head coach Scott Palty now coaching the T-Birds. Let's move to the WBL in a game that will be heard on our sister station 107.5 WZRX, Wapakoneta. Right now, the front runner in the WBL, along with OG, will host Bath, a team that has been a little bit up and down through the first 3 weeks. Offensively, some good games and not so good games. Wapakoneta's been rock solid defensively, Mike, and I think that's going to continue tonight. I like Wapakoneta and pretty big.
Well, you have to think that Wapakoneta defensively will challenge Bath. The Wildcats have had some success scoring this year. But who they scored against, mostly Defiance, a little bit against Lima Central Catholic.
And nothing against Salina.
Yeah, I think really the other thing that's going to be helpful tonight is it's going to be more of a case, can Bath keep their defense off the field? Right. If Wapakoneta has lengthy, sustained drives, whether they punch it in at the end of those drives or not, I'm not sure is the key. I I think Bath needs to figure out a way to get their defense off the field, and if that's not the case, it's all about Wapakoneta tonight. I'm obviously picking the Redskins.
Jason, I assume you'll make it a clean sweep here.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the Wapak folks are not interested in getting into any kind of shootout with Bath, so I think Wapak's defense will come up ready to play.
Bang on that, will you? With everybody taking Wapakoneta, we'll stay in the Western Buckeye League, and it's St. Mary's at Elida tonight. Both teams are 1-2 overall. Elida's got a win in the league. St. Mary's does not. Two teams that I think have designs on having a winning season at very least now as their expectations, and this game will go a long way toward deciding that tonight at Kraft Stadium. Mike, who do you got tonight?
You know, this is a tough game to pick. I like Elida's team. I think they've got an excellent offensive scheme, but they were just not physical enough at all to get anything done against Wapakoneta. I guess I'm going to have to presume they'll be more physical and more effective up front against St. Mary's, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to take the visiting Rough Riders. I was that unimpressed, I think, really with Elida last week on how that game developed.
Jason, what do you think?
I'm itching to go to the coin on this one, but I think I'm going to give the home team the advantage, and I'll go with Elida.
You know, I'm with Mike on this one. I think the Riders' physicality is going to be too much for Elida. Yeah, I do think this will be a relatively high-scoring game, but I'm going to take the Riders and a road win in the Western Buckeye League. Also tonight, speaking of road wins, can the Spartans get one in Fremont tonight? They take on the Ross Little Giants. Lima Senior looking to go to 4-0 and get off to a winning start in Three Rivers Athletic Conference play tonight at Fremont Ross. And I said last week I'm on the Spartan bandwagon. I took them to beat Piqua. I'm taking them to beat the Little Giants.
Yeah, they beat Fremont Ross last year in an excellent game, low scoring, something like 13-12, kind of an outcome. And I think Lima Senior is much better this year than they were a year ago. So in that fact alone, I don't think the home field means anything heading up to Fremont. Fremont's a big old stadium. That's kind of an equal deal for everybody. So I like the Spartans to keep winning.
Absolutely. Jason, what do you say?
Very familiar with Don Paul Stadium, very familiar with Woodson Way there in the heart of Sandusky County, being a Sandusky County native, but I'm going with the crew from Allen County.
That's right.
I'm going with the Spartans.
So we got a clean sweep in our prediction of a Lima Senior victory tonight. And our final pick game is St. Henry at Coldwater. The Cavaliers, unbelievably, have won 19 in a row against St. Henry. And this one will be in Coldwater tonight. And we will hear from their coach, Chip Otten, later on about this game and his team, which is undefeated. They played very well last week in their first full game without starting star quarterback Brody Hoying. A win over Minster. Jack Hemmelgarn has taken over the controls and done a nice job. Mike, is it enough to make it 20 in a row over the Redskins?
I'm going to echo the words of famous UFC cage announcer Bruce Buffer when he says, "It's time." It's time for St. Henry to finally break through. I like the Redskins at Coldwater. It's been too long.
All right, Jason, what do you say?
I'm going to say it's not time. I'll go with the Cavaliers at home.
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase another great modern sports philosopher, and that would be Ric Flair. If you want to beat them, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Woo!
And 19 in a row says Coldwater's the man. I'm going with the man. I'm taking Coldwater. 20 in a row, 19 in a row to 20. I mean, all that's got to mean something.
Right.
Yeah, Coldwater, until St. Henry gets it done, I got to pick Coldwater.
Fair enough.
It's just the way it goes. So there you go. That's our pick segment for week number 4. We'll see how we did when we come back here again. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. This is the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff. Our game tonight is LCC at Columbus Grove. Coming up next, we'll talk with Mark Coons from TV 44 at WOSN on 1150 WIMA.